Welcome, everyone, to, this morning. We've got 3 bills, and I think they're going to go pretty quickly. We're going to change the order just a little bit. We're going to start with Senate File 173, Financial Institutions, Similar Names, and I think we're going to have our President of our Senate kick it off for us. Welcome.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, committee members, I bring you House Bill 173. This is basically just a clarification bill. It's pretty simple. Walk through financial institutions, similar names. That's exactly what it is. If you just jump through to the page 2 of the bill, it's pretty simple. It's all existing language. Basically, starting on line 7 says, name of the proposed financial institution does not resemble so closely as to cause confusion. Name of any other financial institution transacting business. This is from the old days. Used to be in the county. We're going to move it to the state. So you're not going to have 2 banks sitting in the state with almost the same name. It's a pretty common deal, if you got the First National Bank, you're not going to have 2 First National Banks in the state. So that's really all the bill does, just flat cleanup and clarification on where it lays. With that, has the support of the banking industry and came from them. So with that, I'd stand for any questions and ask for your favorable consideration.
Questions for the good president? Questions? That was the question I was going to ask. You took care of it. I was going to ask how this came about and what was the impetus. So,
you'll probably come testify.
All right. Anybody would like to testify on this?
Back up on
Come on forward.
I have a handout for you.
Perfect.
Okay, that's you.
Welcome. Introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning. My name is Jeremiah Bishop. I'm the State Banking Commissioner, and I am the head of the Division of Banking. I don't think I've ever been in front of this committee before, so thank you. Just a little bit of background. We regulate banks, trust companies in the state, and we administer Title 13. The handout is a proposed amendment. We did discuss this with the banking industry. And a little bit of a background, the State Banking Board, they're the ones that approve charters, banks, trust companies, and special purpose depository institutions. There's various factors they review. One of them is being the naming convention, which is what this statute sees. The proposed amendment is just to add another section, and it mirrors the exact same change, only in the trust company statute. Throughout Title 13, there's 3 different areas that the bank board looks at the same factors. One's for banks, which is what the original bill has. One's for special purpose depository institutions, which is already reflected as the same name in the state. And then the amendment is adding this section 2, which is 135507, which is the trust company statute. So the bank board actually reviews mostly trust company charter applications. I don't believe they've had a bank application in over 15 years, but they do trust company applications all the time. So just to make it consistent across all types of institutions, that's what this amendment is just to add this section to amend 135507A4 to change county to state. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Bishop? No,
Great.
I guess not. Thank you so much. Anyone else in the room would like to testify? Come on up. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of the committee, Scott Meyer with the Wyoming Bankers Association. We stand in support of this bill. Obviously, we're the ones that brought it up to just as there was some confusion a little bit. And has been between some different counties, one in Converse County and then one in Carbon County, and just some similarities in some of the names that we thought, well, we're in a new age and we all do banking pretty much statewide or even internationally and what have you. We would like to keep, at least with Wyoming, that consistency that we thought was in only counties, now in states. So for the state of Wyoming. So we stand in support of this bill, and if there's any questions. Oh, and I will bring out that the banking commissioner did call and say, by the way, did you realize, I understand what you're doing, but that also affects the trust, and I think that's a very good amendment. So we stand in support of that as well. So stand for any questions.
Questions for Mr. Meyer? Did you have one? No? That was, again, you answered the question that I was going to ask, is whether or not the banking folks had had a chance to look at this amendment.
Yes.
From Mr. Bishop. Are you comfortable with that?
With the amendment.
With the amendment? How about you?
Yeah,
President?
that was, I just talked to the senator when he did the testimony. It's like, well, that's not what's in the bill I brought, so. I've got to fix that.
Yeah, yes,
So I went to the front, and it was like, I missed out on something here.
yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Meyer?
No, Madam Chairman, I think, or Chairwoman, I think that it covers it all, so.
Okay. No other questions? Okay. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else in the room that would like to testify on this bill? Okay. Well, anybody online for this one? No? Okay. We'll go ahead and close public testimony. We have a motion by Senator Baldwin to move the bill. Second? Mr. Senator Guru. Let's take a look at it. Page 1. Look like, anybody have any issues there with that or any amendments? Looks like page 2 is where all the action is, so.
Move the amendment.
Okay. Senator Baldwin has moved the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the amendment is passed, been adopted. I guess that takes care of that. So we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote then.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Senate File 173, Financial. Senator Baldwin.
Aye.
Senator Ellis.
Excused.
Senator Guru.
Aye.
Senator Jones. And Chairman Schuler.
Aye.
We have 4 ayes, 1 excused.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and leave this open for Senator Ellis to go ahead and vote if she'd like, so.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the second one, which is also happens to be our good president's bill. He said he thought he'd only take 5 minutes on each bill, and that one took 8 minutes. I just wanted to let you know that, so.
Wasn't my fault. I
I
didn't
know,
know
it was your
about
fault.
section 2. We turned it for, you're
It
lucky
was
it
that
wasn't 10.
amendment.
I moved it
Only
from
gets 2
a
minutes.
one-word bill to a one-word bill twice. That I didn't know about. I listened to the testimony. It's like, this doesn't track with where I'm at. So this one I'm ahead of the amendment on, so.
All right. Senate File 176, President.
Madam Chairman, I bring you, in committee, I bring you Senate File 176, Solid Waste Disposal Districts Consolidation. This actually came out of an actual case that's ongoing, and there will be an amendment on this as well, should be distributed. What we ran into, you get to Weston County up in the middle of my district, and so you've got an old waste disposal district that's been voted in many years ago, set up so they can get rid of their garbage and do the thing. And many years later, it's basically semi-functional, but they still need the service. Weston County themselves formed a large waste disposal district, and they want to consolidate this other one into it, help take care of them. It helps them run theirs, helps the other. The way the bill works, it doesn't add any new areas. It just nests one inside the other one. The areas stay the same. Tax rates don't change, users don't change. So everything's par normal for the district, but the larger district's allowed to consolidate them in. So it's really that simple. It's just says you can go ahead and do it. It's only to solid waste disposal districts. You may have some other special districts someday want to do this, but this only applies to solid waste disposal districts. The amendment that come in, basically, and I can talk about it, I'm doing this all from a pretty high level because it's really fairly uncontroversial. Makes it where the county commissioners have to go ahead and approve the thing. So if they don't like it, it's still not going to happen. That gives you one more layer of oversight over it. It really is just a common sense piece of legislation. So walking through the thing, this is a new section. So this bill is basically all new stuff. Consolidates state 1811-106, 2 or more. So you might have this, may consolidate into one solid district. Subsection B shall apply to consolidation of them. So Says it takes a resolution, the Board of County Commissioners where it's at, provide no election be required to consolidate them. Waste disposal districts located in the same county upon the entry of a resolution by Board of Commissioners. So this really what it does is gets around the special elections to have to go redo it all again. And then no one knows what happens if it fails because you got a district that's not real functional. Consolidate shall not enlarge or otherwise alter existing boundaries. That's the key part of waste disposal districts to be consolidated. So it leaves them nested in there. There's no fast move going on that we're trying to add to somebody's taxes or cheapen somebody's. They're going to stay the same. Now this is on top of page 3, the little Roman 8 III. This is the part that doesn't it allows them to do it over county lines. And I think this is looking into the future. I think you're going to see some of these smaller counties are going to haul waste into other counties. It's going to allow them to consolidate them across the county line, and that was never envisioned under that. I think this is really a smart, forward-looking thing that we're going to see because you get up there in the Northeast where I'm at, there's no way a town of 300 people can afford to run their district, but they may very well nest into another county that's got a big one that's willing to pick them up. Go on to line 4 on page 3. County commissioners in the counties first approve the consolidation before it's submitted for approval. That's the way it sits now. Directors, we're going through just the existing laws they've got there. None of it really changes. And then you drop down on page 4, the new wording goes, solid waste disposal, middle of page, consolidated under 18106 may be composed of any portion of 2 or more counties in accordance. That's the new word. That's combining the counties. Bottom of page 4 is the disposal part that says for solid waste disposal district consolidated under 1811106 consists of 2 or more counties. Each Board of County Commission counties consolidated shall complete the steps 18th before the district may be dissolved. So what it does, the combined ones just fall under the same rules as a single one, but if they can still dissolve them, it just takes the same process. And in a nutshell, that's the bill. Like I said, the amendment adds another layer of approval on it. Good bill, simple bill. I'd stand for any questions.
Questions? Senator Baldwin?
Just a quick question. It just came to my mind as we work through this, Mr. President. If one of those counties said, yeah, we want it, and the other one says no, then it doesn't go. Is that correct? Same with
Absolutely, and
dissolution.
it's the same way with the districts. If the one big district can't swallow a small one unwillingly, everyone has to agree in this case, and it's classic. Everybody wants us to cut bureaucracy in government. This really allows it. It's a savings of money. It's a savings of people. My guess is on most of them, at some point, the boards will consolidate. Initially they're separate boards. I'll bet money they all end up, one board just says, the heck with it, and they consolidate them. And ultimately, many of these, my guess is, are just going to end up on there. The lines will disappear over time in them. But
And same with dissolution, correct? Same with dissolution. If
Same,
they say, we
exact
really
same.
don't like this after all, it's got to be unanimous.
correct.
Thank you.
Other questions, Mr. President? I actually had just one question that was on the Board of Directors. So the number of directors appointed will be in proportion with the population of that county. So I don't know how many or how many people they have on a board. Typically, is it like 5 people on a board, 4 on these boards?
The new one in Weston, I believe, has 5, and I'm kind of going off a couple of years old memory. That old one that's in Osage, I have no clue what's on it, and I'd be suspicious knowing them that they haven't meant other than precursory, whatever the laws are, because it's, truth is these solid waste, once your garbage is hauled, nobody really cares unless their bills are going up. And they do make hard decisions, by the way. I help work on Weston Foreman. It's technical, it's hard. I admire the guys that go to the work to get the mill levies put in place and do them because it's a necessary function. But I think once it's in place, nobody cares as long as their garbage gets picked up and their bill's not up.
That is true. Other questions for the good president? No? Took care of mine, so thank you. So, committee, let's see if there's anybody else in the room that would like to testify on this. Yeah.
He's here, now he's gonna tell the actual truth. I didn't know I had someone here to.
Oh.
Welcome. Introduce yourself.
Morning, Madam Chair, Board. Ed Wagner, Weston County Commissioner. That's one hat. I've got two other hats. I'm on the Big County Solid Waste Board, and we got defaulted, the commissioners did, into being board members of the Little Board in Osage. I'm here to speak in favor of this bill. I'd stand for any questions. Senator Driscoll pretty much covered everything. Took the wind out of my sail.
I'm sorry, I should let, this bill actually came from Commissioner Wagner. It's a
Oh.
bill, and
So-
I did not communicate with it, and he actually should have presented it. So,
That's fine. So,
Questions for the commissioner? No? I just have one. I didn't catch the other county. So it's Weston County, and what's the other county that you want to consolidate
okay.
with?
Several years ago, or many years ago, they formed what's called the Central Weston County Solid Waste District. That was in the little community of Osage. At that time, there was a power plant there, and after that, there became a petroleum processing facility there. The power plant is closed and went away. The petroleum processing facility, it's disappeared. So over the years, that little district's mill levy basically dried up to nothing. The board was running that landfill probably 2.5, 3 years ago. They were in turmoil. They all resigned, walked into our commissioner meeting and dropped the keys on the desk. So the commissioners became the board members. And 7 years ago, the county formed a solid waste district of the rest of the county, which is surrounding that. I'm here with that board too. I'm on that board. So it's, what we're wanting to do is get them both into one. There is a transfer station built there that just doesn't generate enough mill levy to even run the transfer station. And the landfill has been closed, so we have to monitor it. It'll be monitored forever. The plan is, if we can get this together, the big district will absorb the little district. We will get that transfer station back up and operating once we get a new landfill built. We're in the process of building a new landfill, or getting a new landfill built for the rest of the county, which will actually take garbage from surrounding counties if they're so inclined. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell. Basically, on the fiscal side, there's no impact to the state. On the local side, it's a benefit, which we won't have to have elections to consolidate, because right now we can consolidate, but it has to go through elections. So.
Questions for the commissioner? No? Sounds to me like a great idea. Thank you. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room that would like to testify on this bill? Anybody online? Okay, what's your pleasure, committee? Okay. Bill's been moved by Senator Guru, seconded by Senator Baldwin. Let's take a look at it. Page 1, anything on page 1 that you have issues with? Page 2. Page 3. Page 4 is where most of the new language is. Anything on page 4? Page 5. All righty. Let's go ahead then, if there's no other comments or questions on the bill, and we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Solid Waste Disposal, Senate File 176, Senator Baldwin.
Aye.
Senator Ellis.
Aye.
Senator Guru.
Aye.
Senator Jones. And Chairman Baldwin.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you. That bill is passed. Good President, would you like to carry that on the floor? Okay, thank you. All righty, thanks. Let's move on to our last bill. And this is Senate File 157, Weed and Pest Mitigation, Tribal Inclusion. I think the good senator from the middle of the state, I know you're here, but I'll let you bring it up. He went over a little bit on his time allotment. Yeah. Welcome, Senator Cooper.
Morning, Madam Chairman, Board. Ed Cooper, Senate District 20. We're going to talk about Senate File 157 for a few minutes. I'm going to, if it's all right with you, Madam Chairman, I'm going to let Senator Ellis take you through this because she's very familiar with the process and the bill, much more so than I am. If that works for you, I'll
That'd be fine.
step aside for a second.
You betcha. Go ahead, Senator Ellis.
Madam Chair, do you want me to sit there or
It's
is up to here?
Wherever
Okay.
wherever you're comfortable.
You know, I'll stay up here. I did want to hand this out. So on your desk, you should see, this is just existing statute. This is the entire program. And so years ago, I think it was in the early 2000s, we set up the Emergency Insect Management Program. There's a committee who guides some funds. That includes the directors of the Department of Ag, Health, Game and Fish, the state veterinarian, and the governor. And really what their mission is to look at insect pest and insect vectors. So infestations of, you'll see the definition of those, things like grasshoppers and Mormon crickets. Insect vectors mean any blood-feeding arthropods, mosquitoes that harbor or transmit pathogens harmful to human health and safety. And so if you flip over, you'll see that these, there's an emergency pot of money. Counties and towns can apply for it. They put in their own money. They can spray for these insects and just try and manage it before situations get really bad. And then they can apply to this committee for reimbursement funds. So throughout the interim, we heard some discussion about what happens if there's an outbreak on the reservation. And so we looked at the statute and thought we would simply amend it to say, if the Eastern Shoshone tribe, the Northern Arapaho tribe, or both tribes together want to participate in this program, that it would be a win-win for the state. You know, the earlier you contain it, these problems, the better it is for, crops, for rangeland, and then as also for West Nile virus transmission. Again, just the earlier we catch it. And so that's what the bill would do. It would include the tribes if they wanted to apply. This bill had originally been introduced. I presented it in Senate Ag, and I was early in the session. I had a lot of questions, and they just didn't quite want to get there with this bill. So good Senator Cooper and Senator Case, who is in corporations, I think he's trying to come over, reintroduced it and wanted to put it to the body for our consideration. So that's the bill. I had more notes on it. So if you have any questions, I had a ton of notes and I threw that piece of paper away. But I can get you information.
Questions for Senator Ellis or Senator Cooper? Either one.
Madam Chair. Talking with our weed and pest districts in Fremont and Hot Springs, they both feel like this is really necessary. They're getting a lot of overflow, especially like on the South Bighorns. The grasshopper infestation the last few years has really been severe, and they've been doing a lot of mitigation work off the reservation, but they don't get to tribal inclusion. And unfortunately, these grasshoppers can't see that line. So we need to be able to work outside of the reservation. But, it's not strictly just for those neighbors, but it's the inclusion with the neighbors is very important. In this bill's previous life, one of the things that when I went back and asked why it failed, they said there was no inclusion of the local districts. So that's why I brought this proposed amendment. If you have just a second, I can walk you through that amendment.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
The page 1, line 1, I don't think that's necessary. I think I'd like to wipe that out of there. But page 1, line 4, after programs, insert requiring coordination with the weed and pest control districts for the emergency programs. And page 2, line 6, applicants shall coordinate participation in the emergency insect management programs under this article with the applicable weed and pest districts. And I think that should, talking to the people that weren't satisfied with the bill before, they said that should take care of their issues. And so I'd like to ask for that amendment to be added in if that's satisfactory to Senator Ellis.
Questions, Senator Ellis?
Mr. Chairman, the catch title is always I don't know how we handle those, but the rest of it seems fine. Coordination makes sense.
Other questions? Senator Baldwin?
I was just going to say in the past, sometimes it's been difficult to change the catch title. If it really doesn't make a big difference, I would leave the catch title alone, but that's, otherwise you get into the weeds.
Yep.
So to
Yeah,
speak.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Senator, Guerrero, change your mind? Okay. No, I was going to add that same thing. I think the catch title might be the only thing that we might have an issue with, so we may just have to leave that in there. But any other questions on the amendment? Okay, let's vote on the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Oh, Madam Chair?
Sorry.
That's just for technicality. So I would move everything but changing the catch
Oh,
title.
you're exactly right. Yeah.
But I don't know if you want to wait until we've heard public comment.
Yeah,
or
we
the bill.
better do that, yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll take a look at that amendment then after we hear a little bit more testimony then, Senator Cooper, if that's all right. Thank you. Any other folks that would like to testify on this bill? Come on up. Welcome, introduce yourself, please.
Agriculture. I'm the technical services manager. I also was the weed and pest coordinator for the last 17 years and administered this program. So Madam Chair, just to make it very clear, this has very low impact on how we administer this program from the Department of Ag. The tribes have been getting a grant from Emergency Insect pot of money since 2004. Just that grant has run through the Fremont County Weed and Pest or the Department of Health this past year. So instead of us using a third party to get that grant to them, we'll be able to work directly with them as a grantee. With that, though, I would be more than happy to answer any questions about the program you may have and how we administer that program.
Senator Baldwin?
Just a quick question, and it applies but doesn't apply to the bill, and that is, I notice in here that if somebody on private land wants to participate, they have a 50% contribution. How often does that happen? Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Senator, we require a 1-to-1 match on that grant program. There is a potential for a 3-to-1 match based on incipient grasshopper outbreaks. But over the years, since its inception, we've never done a grant at that level. So it's always been a 1-to-1. A lot of that match comes from in-kind with landowners or from municipalities, weed and pest districts who are applying for the grant.
Senator Guru?
Thank you. Dr. Since you said you previously ran this program, I had a question too. How often did you expend your budget on this program? I mean, and so my point is with this, is this going to cause this addition going to affect the money that they asked for? I mean, is this going to, do you go through this pot every year? Not so much? Just kind of give me a feel for it.
Mr. Franklin?
Madam Chair, Senator, we have a fiscal year budget of $1.4 million. Last year, we were able to fund 80% of the request total. The year before that, because we had a higher grasshopper outbreak, we were only able to fund the request at 50%. Again, last year there was, I believe it was 20,000, near 20,000 that went to West Nile virus mitigation on the tribes. So I imagine the tribe or the committee will look at the grant from the tribes the same way, knowing that we'd probably try to fund them somewhere at that same level.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Anyone else in the room that would like to testify in this bill? No? I think we have somebody online. A couple somebody's online. All right. Bring them on in.
Madam Chair, you have Aaron Foster and Ken Hamilton online. So
Okay.
Whichever you would prefer to go
Let's
first.
start with Mr. Foster. Welcome, Mr. Foster. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Aaron Foster. I'm the district supervisor for the Fremont County Weed and Pest District, and I appreciate you allowing me to testify on this bill. Fremont County Weed and Pest would be in support of this bill, allowing the tribes to apply for those emergency insect management program funds would definitely streamline the processes by which the tribes currently gather additional funds to help their West Nile virus prevention programs. The current process requires the tribes seek assistance from the Wyoming Department of Health, and the Wyoming Department of Health serves as the pass-through agency on their behalf for those funds. In years past, it's been the Fremont County Weed and Pest District that served this purpose and would apply for grants from the Emergency Insect Management Program and pass those on to both the Shoshone and Arapaho tribes. And so this would just make the process simpler for all parties involved and take out the middleman. Although our experience has been primarily with the mosquito management and the West Nile virus prevention, I do think that this legislation could make it easier for the tribes to improve grasshopper outbreak programs as well, and then coordinate with us when we have grasshopper problems on private land outside the reservation. Currently, the tribes utilize the services from the USDA APHIS for grasshopper management, and those typically require a very large scale and scope in order for the USDA to initiate those programs, and it's specifically for rangeland as well. These funds could possibly use for a more local scale and help those programs out, and they'd also particularly help out those private deeded properties that are landlocked or bordering the reservation. Because the grasshoppers are a state designated pest, I believe that the Emergency Insect Management Committee could request the tribes work with the local weed and pest districts on any grasshopper program that they are seeking assistance from. And I guess with that, I would entertain any questions if you guys had them from Fremont County Weed and Pest.
Questions for Mr. Foster? I have just one. How bad with the drought we had the last few years? How bad were the mosquitoes up in your neck of the woods?
So the mosquitoes are bad typically where there's flood irrigation. And so even when there's a drought situation, there still can be problem areas with mosquitoes. With the drought situation, it lessened it a little bit, of course, because you didn't have as much of the runoff contributing to flooding around and things like that. But we still have problems where there's agricultural land and there's irrigation water going on.
So I assume maybe the grass problem.
Yeah, so we've had a problem with grasshoppers the last 4 or 5 years and had different hotspots with them. Last year, the general trend for grasshopper problems in Fremont County had gone down significantly, with the exception of one area, and that was actually just west of Fort Washakie. And there was no grasshopper program for that area last year.
Other questions, comments? No good. Thank you very much, Mr. Foster. We appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
I didn't catch what the other name was that was.
Ken Hamilton.
Hamilton, okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. Welcome, Mr. Hamilton. How are you?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Can you hear me all right?
You bet. Go ahead.
I'm Ken Hamilton with the Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation, and I just want to offer our support for the legislation. I think it's important that we coordinate these efforts. I think that the amendment offered by Senator Cooper would be very helpful in clarifying some of the issues that may have come up before. And I think with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions for Mr. Hamilton? Oh, I don't think so. Thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. All right. Anything else? Anybody else online? Or is that it? Okay, good enough. We'll go ahead then and close public testimony. And what's your pleasure on this bill?
I'd like to move it.
Okay, it's been moved by Senator Ellis. Second by Senator Guru. We'll let him go. He went faster. So let's go ahead and take a look at the bill first, and then we'll work the amendment in if need be. Page 1, anything on page 1? Okay. Page 2. Pretty simple bill.
Page
Oh,
one.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, all right. Page 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and, you want to talk about the amendment now?
Oh, wait a minute. No, carry on.
Okay, carry on. So no questions on the bill then, huh? No, changed your mind? Go
Madam
ahead,
Chair,
Senator Ellis.
if we're working the bill, I would move
Amendment.
the amendment without the changing the catch title. I think that's tricky. So I would stay away from that, but the rest of it I think is appropriate. So it would just add some clarifying language that applicants shall coordinate participation in emergency insect management programs under this article with applicable weed and pest control districts.
Okay. Anything else with the amendment? Okay. All those that are in favor of the amendment without page 1, line 1 in there, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the amendment has been adopted without page 1, line 1. Did you get that, Doreen? Okay, great. All right, I guess if there's no other comments, anybody else, comments, questions? We'll go ahead then and take a roll call vote on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Weed and Pest Mitigation, Tribal Inclusion 2, Senate File 157, Senator Baldwin.
Aye.
Senator Ellis.
Aye.
Senator Garou.
Aye.
Senator Jones. Chairman Baldwin.
Aye,
5 ayes.
okay, bill is passed. Senator Cooper or Senator Ellis, you guys want to tag team this or decide who's gonna? Oh, okay.
Paper, scissors, shoot.
I think he decided you might be the best, so,
between 1 and 2.
yeah, well, I appreciate, okay, appreciate you, Senator Cooper, and
Senator
thanks.
Case might want to jump in too.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely,
gonna
so, there you go,
Senator
tag team
Case.
it. All right, unless there's any other comments or questions, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
I am so stinking, Joe.